Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live right here on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app, the Giants YouTube channel. I am John Schmeelk. It's all brought to you by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants, and the Hackensack Marina Hill podcast studio. Keep getting better. We welcome in to the weekday edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, Marc Malusis.
It's not 7 a.m. on a Saturday.
No, we aren't like in our pajamas in our basements talking to each other over Zoom.
Fighting off a cold, all that stuff we were dealing with during the winter months. No, it's good to be here, Johnny.
Yeah, I always get Moose. Moose, good morning. He goes, yeah, I've already been up for 2 hours driving my kids like 3 hours to a hockey game in Massachusetts.
I was at a hockey practice in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. Make sure he's there, then driving back and making sure we're on the air. No doubt, but good to be here. Big day.
And Moose picked a heck of a day to make his Big Blue Kickoff Live weekday debut here. You guys have seen the reports. We're not breaking the news for you. The Giants are, according to reports, again, Giants are not confirming any of this. They've been very quiet in terms of their coaching search. They can continue that until it's official. All the reports are saying the Giants are very close to inking and finalizing a contract with former Ravens head coach John Harbaugh, Super Bowl champion, to be their next head coach. And Moose, this is a name that we kind of mentioned on our Saturday show for a while.
Yep.
As right before that final Ravens-Steelers game, talking about one of those coaches might get cut loose based on who lost that game. It ended up happening. John Harbaugh ended up becoming a free agent in the coaching cycle. Ironically, 2 weeks later, Mike Tomlin also available now in the coaching cycle. That doesn't sound like he's going to coach this year.
No,
he's going to go do TV.
He's going to be a broadcaster.
But, and it's funny, heading into this, we sat here and we talked about it, that there was no quote-unquote Mike Vrabel level coach in this coaching style where it's like, all right, this is the home run, go get that guy, he's your guy. Mike McCarthy has a very similar type of resume to that, but obviously the reputation maybe not what other people would consider. But once John Harbaugh became the free agent, he became the white whale, right? He became the standout person that was available of all the head coaching candidates that have been interviewed. The resume, the history, the ring, we'll go down all the accomplishments in the list and everything that he's done. But he became the white whale, and if reports are correct, it looks like the Giants are pretty close to landing him.
Yeah, I mean, I think if everything plays out the way it's being reported that it's playing out, is that it would be an unbelievable hire. We talked about on the Saturday morning show, I can't remember a time where the Giants have had a bigger coaching search. And there have been great coaches for this organization, no doubt about it. You go back historically speaking, Bill Parcells and Tom Coughlin and the like. The Giants have gone the coordinator route before, right? With McAdoo and obviously Pat Shurmur. And you looked at what we saw with Brian Daboll for the past 4 years and Joe Judge. The Giants in this scenario, given the fact that they had found their franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart last spring in the NFL draft, with Joe Shane and company moving up back into the first round after drafting Abdul Carter third overall. They were set in a position here with the young pieces on this team that you needed to bring in some guy, an individual that had experience. You needed to bring somebody in here to help teach this team how to win, that was going to set a culture and an accountability of what Giant football was from this point moving forward. And that experienced candidate, given the nature during the course of the regular season after Brian Daboll was relieved of his duties as head coach of the New York Giants and Mike Kafka stepped in, the guys that were out there were Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy didn't necessarily, not saying that 60% win percentage during the course of the regular season, 3 12-win seasons with the Dallas Cowboys, familiarity with the NFC East, but in terms of having that kind of moxie, that kind of personality, didn't necessarily meet all the criteria that you were looking for in a New York Giant head coach. And then after Baltimore made the decision that they made and John Harbaugh shook free down there in Baltimore, the Giants caught a break. And according to reports, if everything kind of goes down the pathway that the reports are leading you to believe, is the Giants organization took advantage of that opportunity. And you look at everything that Harbaugh is as a head coach, is everything that this organization needs at this point in time.
And look, there was no guarantee that he was going to come here. He could have easily taken a year off from coaching.
Yes.
He's been doing this for 18 years. It's a lot for a family, for a man to do this for a long time. He could have chosen a different team. There are other jobs out there. Cam Ward was the first overall pick last year, right? There were reports that he was going to meet with the Titans. The Falcons almost won the NFC South this year. They have some really good players on that team too. So I think you have to give credit to Giants ownership and Joe Shane, who, if reports are correct, really spearheaded this recruitment effort.
For sure.
The job that they did to close the deal and get this done without him even taking any other in-person meetings, again, if the reporting is correct, just the tip of the cap and a really nice job of landing the fish.
Well, and listen, you have to have your ducks in a row, right? So you got to go through the interviewing process in order to be put in a situation yesterday to be able to obviously John Harbaugh was in the building and to be able to meet with him, and he met with players and he met with team personnel, and you ran through it from ownership to the general manager to obviously player personnel people. Everybody, was on board, and and I think John Harbaugh reportedly wanted the Giants just as much as the Giants wanted John Harbaugh, because whatever you want to say, there is something to be said. There's foundational organizations in the National Football League, and the Giants are one of them. I mean, that's just it.
And it starts with ownership.
There's no question. It does, and the stability within that ownership. And obviously, you give credit to the Maras and the Tisches and everything that goes along with it. But the Giants have a certain pull to them and a draw to them. Not the old cliche, well, if you do it in New York, it's better than you do anywhere else. No, just based on what this organization has meant for the National Football League. And, if you believe all the reporting that's being done, Ian O'Connor with The Athletic and, John Harbaugh looked at this situation in New York and said, that would be the right situation for me. Now, there's other things that you have to clear at that time. Obviously, you got to come and you got to meet, and you got to meet with the general manager, you got to meet with everybody else. You got to get a feel for the organization. But this is a match made in heaven. The Giants caught a break. There's no question about it, with really the ideal candidate shaking free from the Baltimore Ravens. And if all the reports are true and John Harbaugh ends up being the next head coach of the New York Giants, this is going to be a match made in heaven. And I think it's a tremendous, if it ends up being the case, a tremendous hire.
It feels like when they hired Coughlin, right? That's what it feels like. And look, Coughlin didn't even have a Super Bowl championship at that point. Harbaugh does. So, but you're getting in the coach.
But Coughlin was a great program builder. I mean, you go back to it. I mean, what he did in Boston College.
I mean, the Jaguars. He had him in the AFC Championship game in 2 years.
But even before that, right? That great win when he had Glenn Foley, I believe it was his quarterback, and hitting that field goal in South Bend, right? In Boston College. What he did at Jacksonville with the Jaguars. It was a great program builder at that time. And that's exactly what the Giants need now, right? I mean, he sought out, John Harbaugh reportedly reached out to Peyton Manning to get Eli Manning's number and had a conversation with the all-time great Giant quarterback about, what this organization is all about. And obviously Eli spoke glowingly of the Giants and spoke glowingly of this organization and ownership and everything and the like.
And reports are that Brian Dable, who just got fired by the organization, by the way, reportedly guy gave a good report on it.
Right, and he give credit to Daves because I think Daves obviously cares about this organization, obviously also cares about the quarterback that's in place as well, and the connection that he has with Jackson Dart.
Yeah, no question about it. So, and then I think you also have to look at the roster, because that's part of this too. You mentioned Jackson Dart, right? Why he chose the Giants. And we talked about this on the Saturday show. If you look at the other teams, you go to tankathon.com and you click on NFL and you look at the teams in the top 10 of the draft order, right? Well, they don't have the type of individual players. Now, there's no putting lipstick on a pig this year. The season was awful. All right, when you have the 5th pick in the draft, you had a bad year. It was a bad year. But if you look at the individual talented players on the roster and the other teams that had the same number of wins as the Giants in that list, you don't see Dexter Lawrence's. You don't see Brian Burns's. Except for Myles Garrett on the Browns, obviously. He's pretty good.
Yeah,
you don't see Malik Neighbors. Not bad. You don't see Camps, guys like that are young, Abdul Carter's, young foundational pieces that you feel like you can work with Moose on both sides of the ball. And I think when John Harbaugh looked at this, he saw a potential franchise quarterback, those talented players on both sides, salary flexibility moving forward, 5th overall pick in the draft, and he goes, look, I like the ownership group. I like the foundational franchise, to your point. But I also have the players in the building and the resources, in addition to the guys that are already here, to build the type of program that he knows needs to be built if you want to have sustained success.
Yeah, and specifically, I mean, he was never going to go to a place without a quarterback.
Correct.
I mean, that's it. Not at 63. Not after 18 years down in Baltimore. He was never going to go into a position, because then you're in the abyss.
Where he went from Flacco to Lamar Jackson,
right,
by the way.
You're in the abyss.
Correct.
In the National Football League. If you're in search of that quarterback and you're looking for bridge guys, or you're looking to try and maybe, like Brock Purdy with San Francisco, maybe strike, late in the draft or 2nd or 3rd round pick. If you're looking at this upcoming NFL draft, it seems to be a one quarterback draft with Fernando Mendoza coming out of Indiana at the top number 1 overall pick. And by all intents and purposes, he's probably going to be a Raider. So you're looking at a scenario here where the other options, and I understand that he did his due diligence on the Tennessee Titans because they have Cam Ward, right, who was the number 1 overall pick a year ago, right? The other team that was thrown into the mix was the Atlanta Falcons, right? And they've got Kirk Cousins, but they also have Michael Penix. Oh, by the way, Penix coming off another torn ACL.
That one not quite as attractive.
Right. So you look at
Matt Ryan there, but not the same thing.
Right. You look at everything that goes along with it, the history of the organization, the fact that the Giants have been to 5 Super Bowls, have won 4 of them, right? The stability of the franchise, right? You give the roster and look at the roster outside of the quarterback position, but then the big cherry on the top is the fact of Dart, right? And if you believe the reports down in Baltimore, is that Harbaugh, through the drafting process a year ago, really liked Jackson Dart coming out of Ole Miss, right? And every team does their due diligence regardless of where they stand at the quarterback position because that's really part of the scouting department, right? So you look at it, and then you look at Dart, and I was listening to the post game after the final game of the season, after the Giants knocked off the Dallas Cowboys, and you listen to the messaging of Jackson Dart after that game. And I think it kind of talked to each and every one of the Giant fans in this great tri-state area. Proud fan base. There's no question about it, right, in terms of this is unacceptable. We've got to go out there and start winning games.
I believe the quote, we cannot let this happen again.
Yeah, and that is absolute, that is meat to the wolves. I mean, for the Giant fan that has been looking at this and have watched the last 3 years unfold, and you look at the competitive nature, what separates professional athletes regardless of league, whether you're looking at the NBA, NHL, National Football League, is the competitive nature of a professional athlete. Yes, you have the God-given ability and commit yourself and everything like that. So, but the competitive nature, and you see that in Jackson Dart. Does there need to be a little bit of an adjustment to his game? Yeah, we've been down that road, and that's been hammered home time and time again.
All young quarterbacks have to get better.
Right, but here's the deal. You've got a leader in Dart, right? You've got a leader in Dart, makes guys around him better, that this team rallies around. He clearly has the ear of this team, and I think that was a big-time draw when you're looking at John Harbaugh, where he was looking at coaching situations after he was let go down in Baltimore, is where can I win? Because I want to win, right? I want to win just like I did in Baltimore. Where can I win? Where am I set up for potentially having success? I've got to do my job. Coaching staff has got to do the job, but I need to put myself in a position where I have a quarterback that I believe in, and I do think that is the case here in New York.
No, I think it has to be. And just real quick, I want to just, so people that don't know exactly what Harbaugh's resume is here. 63, a little bit older is your point.
Yep.
He was the Eagles special teams coordinator before he became head coach of the Ravens. He was the Eagles from 1998 to 2007. Also coached DBs 1 year for the Eagles. Ravens head coach 18 years, 2008 to 2025. Regular season record, not bad. 180 and 113.
Not bad.
I think you'd sign up for that. 13-11 in the playoffs. Won Super Bowl 47, the year after the Giants won theirs in 2011. That was the Joe Flacco year, where he just chucking the ball down the field all day. That was Anquan Boldin, Torrey Smith, if I remember correctly, wide receiver that year for the Ravens.
Well, right, and they had the big catch by Jacoby Jones.
Jacoby Jones, that's right. That was the other big defense. That's right.
Remember the big one? I think that was on like 4th down, right? Down the right sideline.
Correct. 2023, made the AFC Championship game with Lamar Jackson. Got upended, like many teams have, by Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. 6 division titles. But this is the one that gets me, Moose. And look, 6 division titles is pretty good given he's in that conference with the Steelers.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow and the Bengals, by the way. This is the one that gets me. 18 years with the Ravens, only 3 losing seasons. And of those 3 losing seasons, in 2 of them, he won 8 games. And he won 8-9. Look at the Giants' last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that tells you all you need to know.
Right. And you needed, and that's where, like, you needed a guy to step into this room that had done it before. And I mentioned it before, right? You think about the legendary coaches that have been with the New York Giants over the years. There was a culture, there was an expectation, and there was an accountability of how are we going to define Giant football? What do you need to do as players? You talk to athletes all the time. I talk to athletes all the time, right? And football players and the like. They'll follow a coach and right up a hill if they believe that coach has the answers, right? John Harbaugh's got the answers. Right? So you've seen it before. And listen, you could look at the Baltimore Ravens. Did they, underachieve the past couple of years? Oh, okay. You could look at he was not Zay Flowers on the field that fumbled the ball against Kansas City down in Baltimore. He was not Mark Andrews up in Buffalo a year ago in the playoffs, 2 years ago up in the playoffs, who dropped that touchdown.
Or Lamar fumbling the ball in that game too.
Right. There's no doubt. He was Tyler Loop,
yeah.
who missed the field goal, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So he put themselves in a position. Now the Ravens, here's where you give Harbaugh credit this past year. The Ravens started the season awful, right? Henry, the 2 fumbles in the first 3 games cost them games, right? They should never have lost the opener against the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
He was still able to put themselves in a position where it was a win or go home scenario, that final game up in Pittsburgh.
With his quarterback missing games during the year, too, by the
no
way.
doubt. And then when he played, he wasn't 100%,
Correct.
right? He didn't look like the Lamar Jackson. You look at it speed-wise, when he was topping out, he was only topping out at 15, 16 miles an hour. At his peak, when he's 100% healthy, he's a guy that's 20 to 21 miles an hour. So Lamar Jackson was no longer the same threat he has been in years gone by, a guy that's a certain Hall of Famer and obviously been there, done that. But still, you look at Lamar, it was not a 65, 70, 75% Lamar Jackson. Still put that team in a position at the end of the season to have a meaningful football game. And listen, I heed the words of the Giants co-owner John Mara, who said years ago, right? What is relevant for what is a meaningful season? What's a good season for the Giants? Obviously, each and every year you want to go out there and try and win a Super Bowl, right? But it's a matter of playing relevant games late in the year. Right. That you want to see MetLife Stadium or the old Giant Stadium packed with Giant fans, late December, early January, where you have a game of meaning at the end of the season, regardless of how the playoffs play out. And that's really what John Harbaugh is bringing. If everything goes true and he gets hired by the New York Giants and all the reports are true, what he brings to this thing is accountability, respectability. He's going to obviously bring relevance to this organization and a proud franchise that obviously put them back into the NFC East, rightfully where they belong, near the top.
To put bluntly, Moose, he knows how to win football games.
No doubt.
He knows how to build a winning team and win football games. I'm just going to run through the win totals, folks. 11, 9, 12, 12, 10, 8, 10, 5, 8, 9, 10, 14, 11, 8, 10, 13, 12, 8. There's only 1 5 in there. Everything else is 8 or more. Giants have won 8 or more games twice in the last 13 seasons. So yeah, I think you signed up for that any day.
Well, you signed up, yeah. And he had a very successful run down in Baltimore.
Yeah.
I mean, he just did.
Great.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl. You mentioned it, 6 division titles. He was down there for 18 years. They brought him
transition quarterbacks.
Transition quarterbacks. Flacco, obviously, who gambled on himself that season, finally got paid by the Baltimore Ravens. They obviously went and developed Lamar Jackson, who many people, when he was coming out of Louisville, including a former executive that I won't name here, thought he would never play quarterback in the National Football League, and he ends up being obviously a multiple-time MVP and a unanimous MVP in the NFL when you're looking at Lamar Jackson. And
willing to basically customize his team around one of the most unique quarterbacks you could draft, right? And not a lot of coaches would be willing to do that, but he completely changed how he would I mean, his offense with Flacco was night and day compared to what he did with Lamar Jackson, right? Just was completely willing to change the way he does things to adjust to the player to give his team the best way to win. And that's what you want from a coach.
Well, you want, no doubt. And you want the team to believe what the coach is saying and believe and get a sense of that. And I think the accomplishments of John Harbaugh are without question in the NFL. And for each and every young player on this for each and every Giant player on this team and this organization, John, that you look at it if all the reports are true and it becomes official that he is indeed the next Giant head coach, there are going to be a lot of guys that are going to be. Now, he's going to hold this team accountable. He's going to set a tone about what the expectations are for being a New York Giant,
right.
But that's going to be refreshing. And that's exactly what this organization needs, because in the end, you are judged each and every week by what the scoreboard shows you, right? You don't want to hear about close losses. Your wins and losses, that's it, right? That is basically, there is no gray area. It's black or white, right? That's it. And so when you look at Harbaugh, he's done a lot of winning over the course of his career, has done a lot of winning in a lot of difficult or different situations. He's won with different style of quarterbacks, and now he comes here to New York, and the Giants obviously want to try and win when they've got their franchise quarterback, Jackson Dart, under his initial rookie deal.
Yeah, I want to get to your calls here, 201-939-4513. Now, once or if and when this deal gets finalized, Moose, then you have to build the staff.
Yeah.
And remember, he's this quote-unquote CEO head coach, so who the coordinators are become extremely important, extremely important. There are reports out there that Todd Monken is the favorite to be the offensive coordinator. You have to do a full search for OC, DC, and special teams. There's a Rooney Rule with that. You have to meet all those requirements by the National Football League. But Monken has done a fantastic job in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. Got him, he was basically coin flip MVP with Josh Allen in 2024. So really good offensive coordinator. Ravens offense that year was fantastic. They made the most out of a bad situations this year with some of the injuries you mentioned. So
had success in Tampa too. Remember when he
Absolutely.
interviewed for the Jets head coaching job? I think Tampa that year was the number 3 rated offense, number 1 passing offense in the NFL.
And at least one national championship with Georgia. It might have been 2 actually down there, right? 2, Pearson? He had 2 national championships with Georgia. So obviously, and maybe you can bring some of that college stuff with Dart, more comfortable, that sort of stuff. So obviously that I think would be an exciting guy to talk to. And then obviously the Ravens have a very deep history of playing excellent defense. So I don't think there'll be any shortage of defensive coaches that he could bring in and interview for that job as well. Obviously, Orr was their defensive coordinator down there with Baltimore this year and last year. Anthony Weaver, a guy that was under his staff in Baltimore, that was under Mike McDaniel in Miami. He's obviously with McDaniel getting wiped out. He's a guy you could potentially talk to. So, and obviously his history is special teams. So he's going to have a good special teams unit here. That's the case. So we'll see where that goes once this all gets, and if this all gets finalized, but hugely important to see where this coaching staff goes, if they retain any of the Giants assistants from the prior staff, who I'm sure the Giants will recommend people from that staff. We talked about Carmen Brasso a lot, the Giants offensive line coach. Obviously, they've had a lot of successful offensive lines in Baltimore, too. We'll see what Harbaugh decides to do there.
Yeah, I think and when this, you hit upon it, when this becomes official finally, all right, and all signs are pointing in that direction, then it becomes the coordinators and this coaching staff, right? And it'll be interesting to see how many coaches he's able to pull from that Ravens staff, especially after listening to the Ravens owner and their general manager, Eric DeCosta, announced the fact that they were moving forward without John Harbaugh and when they met with the media a few days ago down in the Baltimore area. So, and then it'll also become interesting, John, is that you often see coaches, when they go into new places, they like to bring in players from their former team to be able to kind of set a tone, right? I'll draw an example, right? You want to pick of an example, right? Look at Cignetti when he took over Indiana, right? And he was at James Madison. He brought 25 players from James Madison, right? But set the culture and the tone and the expectation. You're not going to do that. There's not going to be that kind of turnover, right? But when you look at it, it's interesting to see when coaches move, especially in the National Football League, and now obviously there's great turnover in the NFL. What Ravens, outside of coaches, what Raven players potentially join the New York Giants this offseason to kind of help set a tone and a temperament in that locker room about what the expectations are going to be for a New York Giant moving forward when John Harbaugh, when he officially becomes the head coach of the New York Giants. Yeah,
and we'll see what happens. That'll be exciting to track that. All right, let's do the phone calls here, folks. 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. And once this thing becomes official, folks, we'll have a lot of content coming your way. That could be soon. It could be later. We'll see. We'll keep track of that. You can stay tuned to the Giants app, Giants YouTube channel, Giants.com, our Twitter feed, all that stuff, and we'll keep you updated on when this thing becomes official and all the I's get dotted and the T's get crossed. These contracts can get complicated.
No doubt. Absolutely.
As they try to figure this stuff
if the
out.
reports are true, Giant fans are celebrating. That's it. It was a nice wake-up call this morning when the news, when all the reports and
I was still awake last night. I saw it.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's funny, actually. So funny story. My wife and I, we were behind on Stranger Things. We always watch that together.
Oh, there.
So
nice.
we watched the next to last episode last night. We finished around like 10:05. And and it's kind of a cliffhanger from like the next to last episode to the last episode, and we're like, all right, we got to do it. Here's the problem. The last episode is 2 hours. So we were looking like 12:30-ish or so, and we're like, you know what? We're doing it. We're gonna fight through it. We're gonna do it. We finish it. We're dead tired. We go to bed. And I'm like, for some reason, as I'm about to fall asleep, like, you know what? Yeah. Let me check my phone.
And you checked. Sure. And there it was.
I checked, and then I couldn't fall asleep for another hour and a half.
There it was. Then you were wide awake.
I know. I could not fall asleep.
So you run.
It was a problem.
See, I don't have that kind of regime in the Malusis household. Like, my kids are, Gregory wants to play football, this and that. It's like 9:30. I'm trying to get the kids to sleep, trying to walk the dog Chip, do all these kind of things. So
Chip the dog.
Chip the dog, no doubt about it. So, and you got to make sure Chip is taken care of so no accidents in the house and everything like that. So I did not see when the news officially broke, or I would say when it was reported, I should say,
yes.
By Schefter and Ian Rappaport and company. I think Art Stapleton had it as well.
Yeah,
Paul Schwartz
was
from the New York Post.
Ian O'Connor, all
Ian
those guys.
O'Connor.
Yeah, they were all over it.
Yeah, and so I did not see when all the reports came out at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But I give you credit. Then after that point in time, you can't sleep.
Nah, it was a problem.
Yeah.
I was tossing and turning.
You're fired up. You're excited.
I know. I was all pumped up. All right, let's get to it. 201-939-4513. So when you do, by the way, John's Huddle Podcast, check it out. We do have draft season up there right now, by the way, for those of you interested in the draft. Tony Pauline and I talk about the college football playoffs a little bit. We do a little bit on the some of the invitations to the Senior Bowl, and we do our mock draft picks 13 to 24 based on we know who teams were picking in the second half of the draft. All right, Donnie in Queens will lead us off today. I imagine Donnie's a happy man today. Donnie, what's up, pal?
I actually called to congratulate you and the entire BBKL staff because the amount of negative phone calls you poor guys have received over the last 10 to 12 years. I don't think anybody deserves this more than you guys. And yeah, this is the best I've felt as a Giant fan since Super Bowl 46. And that is sad.
That's probably true.
To say, even when they beat Minnesota a couple years back, I was happy, of course, but you didn't believe. And today's the first time I kind of believe in what the New York Giants have always been. And I saw a stat today, and John, we've talked about this a bunch of times. You know what team was in 11 personnel the least over the last 2 years in the NFL?
I imagine it was probably the Baltimore Ravens, and they were probably in 12 and 13 more than anyone else.
Give it to me. Power, New York Giants, power football. Run the ball, throw the ball downfield, sack the quarterback, and this is what it feels like. We're heading back in that direction. And hey, props to Joe Shane. A lot of people wanted him gone, myself included. He was part of the group that got this done. And my biggest worry when Harbaugh became available was how far have the Giants sunk in the eye of the NFL? Because I know as fans, we look at it just from our prism. They're losing, we're distraught, and I was like, are we about to lose this, white whale type coaching staff to, no disrespect to the Tennessee Titans and Atlanta Falcons, but when you write the story of the National Football League, there are footnotes, and the Giants have always been this, front and center storied franchise, and I think today you kind of remember that, hey, we still are the New York Giants, and I will not be selling my opening day tickets this year like I did last year, so. Moose, awesome to hear you on the show. Hope to hear you back again. I've got nothing else to say, but congratulations to all Giant fans out there, the organization, and a special shout-out to John Mara. Wherever his health takes him, he got one done for us today. So thanks to him and everybody, and we'll be following along this offseason. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate the call. And, Moose, the Giants have made a lot of moves over the last 10 years, and no matter what the move is, there's always a group of fans that are kind of upset about it, right? And, some are happy, some are upset, things like that. But, I mean, I can't imagine this is going to be anything short of universal, just people being
I think
up.
there's going to be a lot of love.
I can't imagine.
I think there's going to be a lot of love.
Against it?
I don't listen. I'm not going to be the contrarian today.
No, I mean,
there's no. I don't really think there is one.
I don't think.
I really don't.
I
think obviously it's got to yield to the results, and I think John Harbaugh understands that. Whenever. If all the reports are true, it's got to lead to that the Giants obviously getting back to relevancy, being a playoff contender year in and year out, and obviously getting back to the place that every team strives to get to at the end of the season, which is back to the Super Bowl, right? And so if you don't have a quarterback, those are kind of dreams and aspirations. When you have a young quarterback that has shown you kind of the dynamic aspect that you've seen in Jackson Dart, you can start to realize and see a pathway. You ran through some of the younger pieces as well. And, I think the Giant fan right now, it's kind of similar in nature to where, to draw a comparison, it was, 13 months ago, I think it was. Now we're sitting here, it's January. I think he signed in December, to when the Mets signed Juan Soto. And it excited the fan base to the point where, they were packing Citi Field night in and night out. Now, we know the Mets results in 2025 weren't particularly good at the end of the season, right? But it sent a message to the fan base. And I think that message, whenever this does become official, right, and if all the reports are true, I do think this enlivens, excites the Giant fan base. It's lights a fire. It's a very proud fan base that was looking for something. And I think this if it becomes when it becomes official, John, I think this kind of signing does just that because of what Harbaugh's already accomplished, and I think what the Giant fan has been through, watching guys that have taken this position and obviously have ultimately failed.
Yeah, and look, and I think Donnie said it right, where fans have become so down on what the franchise has done over the last 10 years, and understandably so, given the record. We went through it, 6 different coaches in 10 years, Moose. That is not what the Giants franchise wants to be and wants to do, if you include the interim coaches in that list. And I think this shows that they are still a place that the best people around the league want to be, and they still hold the respect of the people around the NFL. But I think fans, and I think they were wrong, but fans, I think, have their own opinion about that, and understandably so. But I still think the cachet of the team, the organization, and the respect of ownership, most of all, is still
the history of the franchise.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's something for a football guy like a Harbaugh, right?
And he is the quintessential football guy.
Right, he's a football guy,
yes.
right? You don't think that means something to him? Of course it does. I mean, of course it does. But, we would not be having this conversation if the Giants probably didn't have a quarterback in place.
Yeah, of course.
Right? We wouldn't be, because Harbaugh is also looking at it at 63. He knows he's probably got 8 to 10 years to go, right? In terms of coaching at that kind of level, right? He's not 45. He's not 50 years old, right? So he's looking at a scenario where he wants to win. And he's got a position here where, if all the reports are true, that Harbaugh ends up stepping into a position where he's got a young quarterback that he believes in.
And that's a credit to Joe Shane, because along with Brian Dable, moving up to get the quarterback, and that's why we say, you can wait a year for a quarterback. Next year's quarterback class is going to be good. And by the way, now we're looking at this year's quarterback class as like one guy that's going to go with the top 10, and that's pretty much it, depending on what Ty Simpson does. So when you have a chance to get the quarterback, and then you kind of figure things out.
And sometimes
later.
Opportunities you have because when we were discussing this on Saturday mornings on The Fan, right, John? John Harbaugh was still the coach of the Baltimore Ravens.
We were struggling to figure out who the next guy should be.
Right, so you're thinking about where you're going to go. Like, are you going to go to the college ranks? What coordinator is it going to be, right? And so here's where the Giants and everybody within the organization deserve credit. Have all their ducks in a row for when that opportunity presented itself, you take advantage of that opportunity. Yeah. And you never know when that opportunity is going to be there. And that's exactly what the Giants were able to do. And if the reports are true, John Harbaugh is going to be the next head coach of the Giants.
Yeah. All right. I have some YouTube comments here, too. I will get to those, but let's go to David in North Carolina in the meantime. David, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen.
What's going on?
What's going on, Dave?
Hey, great day. I wanted to call and kind of piggyback on some of the points that you guys just recently made and the last caller. Kind of like the last caller, I didn't, necessarily think the mystique of the Giants had gone away, but, human nature, you do wonder if we're all human. If the cause of all the losing and just disappointment, had something gone awry in this great organization. And I called in a few weeks ago that I just never really saw the Giants ever being in this spot because of the Mayer family. Growing up, I kind of became a fan late 80s at the tail end of the Parcells era. And, we had some lean years there until we were able to kind of utilize and Kerry Collins and his career and, kind of rejuvenate him. And he helped us as well. And we finally found a quarterback after Phil Simms. But, the droughts and maybe the inconsistencies of the Fossil era where you'd make the playoffs and then the next year you wouldn't, it just never lasted this long. And I always attributed it to the Mayer family. And even through the criticism and, I think people will tell you outside of football and other businesses, sometimes having family, within a business and trying to run a business with family can be very difficult and all the dynamics of that. And certainly that's been brought up over the years, and I don't want to get into that, but I bring all this up to say if you've been a fan of the team for, multiple decades and years like I have and other callers of the show like, Lynn and Columbia, Maryland, and others, I hope this reminds people that nobody's perfect. But and I'm sorry if I get a little emotional being a cancer survivor. John Mara, you can't question his will to win and spend money on this team. He may have not done everything right, but I just want to say thank you, John Mara, for reminding us, this is a distraction, football, from life and all the craziness that goes on in the world. And to me, I'm just proud to be a Giant fan today because John Mara reminded us that he and his family will go to whatever it takes to be a winner. And it may not work out. As you guys said, hey, football is the ultimate team game. It takes a general manager and a coach to work together to bring this together. But you can never question Mr. Mara's desire and will and his pocketbook towards his team. And I just want to say thank you to him and his family, and God bless him. And I hope he wins this fight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, David. And we obviously are praying for that too, no question about it. And look, he's right. Football's hard, right? Like it's hard to win in the National Football League. It's hard to make, really good decisions as an owner, as a general manager, as a coach. Winning in the National Football League is hard. And has every decision been right? No, obviously not. Look at the record the last 10 years. But the desire to win and the willing to put the resources into it and do whatever it takes to win, that should never have been questioned.
No, it shouldn't be, and when losing happens, unfortunately, it does, right? So, and then you get into, and the Giants as an organization hold themselves accountable to, they know what they did right, they know what they did wrong,
and no one is more as upset leaving a loss than members of the Mara and the Tisch families.
Oh, there's no question about it, and I think with all of this, obviously, your thoughts and prayers on a daily basis are with John Mara, and. His love for this team, his love for this organization, his love for the Giant football, and his love for the Giant fan base. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And so you give the Maras and the Tisches a tremendous amount of credit. If according to reports that John Harbaugh is going to be the next head coach of the New York Giants, to seizing an opportunity. And taking advantage of that opportunity and putting this organization in the best possible position to be successful
and
moving
closing
forward.
The deal.
Yes,
look, and
that takes a team effort.
And again, without him going to other places.
Yeah, and that takes a team effort. That
Absolutely.
is Chris Mara going to have lunch down in Baltimore last weekend. That is each and every member of this organization. Everything that went into hosting John Harbaugh yesterday. And the excitement that you see from this fan base, because the fan base wants to win, just as each and every member of this proud organization wants to win on a day in, day out basis and wants to win, during the course of the regular season. The fan base wants to see this organization win. And I think you hear the frustration from the fans, John, is that
we do.
when it's losing and it's irrelevant football and it's a bad product and everything and the like. And the Giants realized that, and they understood that I mentioned it earlier in the show. I don't remember a bigger hire or kind of in my lifetime. I really don't. Maybe Coughlin, maybe that's it. But this is as reportedly, if John Harbaugh is reportedly John Harbaugh is the next head coach of the Giants, that it is as big of a hire as I can remember in my lifetime watching this team. And I grew up going to Giant games at the old Giant Stadium. Grew up, I watched George Martin have the pick against the Denver Broncos the year they went to the Super Bowl and won in Pasadena.
You were at that game?
I was at that game.
Oh, that's
yes,
pretty cool.
I was at that game.
That's
I was
nice.
sitting in the upper deck with my dad and some family relatives. So I saw many a Giant game, and you understood what Giant football was at that time, to be able to run it, what you were going to be defensively, obviously built around the linebackers and, Harry Carson and LT, the greatest defensive player of all time, Carl Banks, Gary Reasons, Pepper Johnson at the time. But you understood what Giant football was going to be, running the football with Joe Morris, and then obviously, Otis Anderson, great offensive line. And I know football has changed, but the Giants had an identity, right? And they need to get back to that. And what breeds an identity? Well, holding team accountable, having a culture, and obviously winning games.
Guys, get on the line, 201-939-4513 Pierce. And I bet you one of those days people are like, well, a million people got to be calling, so I'm not even going to bother trying. No, like, we literally have full lines.
Giant fans celebrating.
We literally have full lines like every day when there's no big news. And now today, I only got one caller on the line. Folks, if you want to talk to us, get on the line, 201-939-4513. We also have some YouTube comments as well we will get to. Let's go to Randy in California. He's up next. Randy, what's up, pal?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
What's going on, Randy?
Hey, I got something for you guys. So we got Harbaugh, supposedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that's really important is we can't go through 4, 5, 6 offensive coordinators like we did with Daniel Jones and coaches.
That's
right?
true. I'm with you.
If Harbaugh's going to be our coach, he's going to have to be there for the next 5 to 10 years to help Dart succeed. But it's also important that we try to get the right offensive coordinator. That's almost just as important as the coach.
Yeah, I
You
agree with that 100%.
So why not try to see if we can keep Kafka? You know what I mean? It's not. He's already has a good idea of what he likes to do and run. If they could work together and keep him on the Giants, wouldn't that be beneficial right now at this point? Instead of changing a whole new system?
I think
I
think John Harbaugh will have to, whoever his offensive coordinator is going to be, has to be someone that he's comfortable with, he trusts, and he thinks can run the offense. Could he have will he talk to Mike Kafka? I'm sure he will. I'm sure the Giants will say, look, you should talk to Mike Kafka. He's done a good job here. But that is something that, Randy, the most important decisions the head coach makes is who the coordinator is going to be. And that has to be left to the head coach. Now, if he decides that Mike Kafka is the best guy for the job, great, fantastic. I'm all for that. I think that'd be great. I love Mike. I think he does a fantastic job. But that has to be, Moose, in the hands of John Harbaugh to make that decision.
I would agree with you. And Randy, I think one of the conversations, and I was not in the room. None of us were in the room when those conversations.
You weren't at dinner?
No, I was not. No. I was not. I do, but it looks like a great restaurant. But I was not at dinner. But
nice dinner.
I would
peanut
imagine.
bread? Little
Yeah, part of that. Tzatziki sauce. I look at it. There was obviously a conversation about what the plan for Jackson Dart is.
Yeah.
And Dart reportedly obviously met with Harbaugh when the meetings took place yesterday.
Whether that was happenstance or part of it, we're not. Based on reports, we're not sure.
We're not exactly
they
sure.
Spoke,
right? But they did speak, right? And Harbaugh reportedly, according to Diana Rossini from The Athletic, was looking at game film this previous weekend, looking at both Jackson Dart and Cam Ward, right? The Giants and the Tennessee Titans. There obviously has to be a game plan. But what John mentioned is true, is that you bring in John Harbaugh and his vision of what Giant football is going to be. You allow him you're giving him the confidence as Giant head coach. You will now have him the ability to go out there and carry out his vision of what Giant football is going to be. The reportedly that he's going to be the next head coach of the Giants. I'm not saying that he is full. You don't have other people, and we're in a world here in professional sports where there's great collaboration. I'm not telling you that it's got to be his way or that, but he's going to have very big control, you would imagine, given his resume, his reputation, in terms of carrying out what he wants and what his vision of Giant football is going to be here moving forward.
Yeah. One more quick thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about the defense? Because we know that 150 to 170 yards a game, we can't stay on that trajectory. So what are you thinking as far as who does he like as defensive coordinator, as far as what your opinion is? Who do you think he might want to try to bring in?
Yeah, Randy.
And I appreciate you guys.
No, appreciate the call,
Randy.
man. Good stuff. And by the way, just on the offensive side of the things, there have been reports out there that Todd Monken will be the leader in the clubhouse there. He does have a history in college, which could help with some of the college system stuff that Dart did last year for the Giants and being a young player from Ole Miss. And he's had a lot of success with mobile quarterbacks, too, with Lamar Jackson, too. So there's a lot of success there that you would think would be able to translate to what Jackson Dart's capable of with what Todd Monken's done. And Moose, you mentioned some of his past, spots too.
Yeah, he's had success
as a coordinator.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, he has. And
he was a head coach candidate last year.
Yeah, and when we hit the airwaves today, I was reading the latest, and Todd Monken reportedly has not heard from Harbaugh since it got reported overnight that he was going to be that he was in place moving forward to being the next head coach of the New York Giants. So we'll see. Obviously, according to reports down in Baltimore, there was a sticking point in terms of the conversations that Harbaugh had with the Baltimore Ravens owner, which led to obviously Harbaugh losing his job as head coach down there in Baltimore.
Also, Lamar might have been involved in that.
Right,
as well.
He's a big Todd Monken believer, and he's had success. So there's no doubt. Listen, it's a quarterback-driven league. The quarterback quarterback is the most important position in all professional sports. The Giants have got a good young one. There's no doubt about it that you want to make sure it's one thing to draft a quarterback. It's another thing to develop the quarterback. So you have to make sure that you have a plan in place to develop that quarterback. And if Jackson Dart develops properly, the sky's the limit about what he could be here in the NFL and be obviously an impact player, a big-time impact player for this organization moving forward.
Yeah, look, there really hasn't been a lot of noise out there, unless I've missed it. And if I have, put it in the YouTube comments. Pearson will keep track of it for us. I have not seen any rumors or scuttlebutts or reports as to potential defensive coordinator moves. I'm not sure if you've seen anything
I have not.
there.
I've not. I've seen the names that you threw out at the start of the show.
But that's more people connecting dots
Correct.
than actually reporting any interest. So,
Right.
I'm sure they'll talk to
the only thing I saw before we hit the airwaves is that that there might not be great pushback to Harbaugh bringing many of his assistants up from Baltimore.
Okay, I honestly did not see that right before we started.
But
That's a good
I mean
nugget.
that is but I don't know if that's necessarily going to play out. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But I did see that.
The contract's not even signed yet. So
No,
to start talking about assistants a little
right?
bit early.
But I get it. And here's the one thing. The other aspect of it is when you hire. If the reports are true, right, and Harbaugh reportedly going to be the next head coach of the New York Giants, you hire a veteran head coach in the NFL that's been there, done that before. He has a greater success rate of putting together a staff as compared to guys that have never done it before.
Oh, absolutely, and you have to trust them to do it. And
Right.
look, I like Moose. I was not at the dinner, but I'm sure one of the first things that gets talked about is that I have complete freedom to hire whoever I want as my assistants, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Giants said yes, sir. I don't know that happened, but that is a guess. If I'm wrong, someone could come and storm in here and pop me on the head. But my guess, he's being given leeway in terms of hiring.
Yes,
that would be my guess. Just saying.
Yeah, I would have, and that's where you know what you want, and you go out there and you make sure that you get what you want. And that goes for both sides. Yeah. I mean both sides. The Giants were in a position where they targeted a coach that clearly obviously has had success, and Harbaugh was in a position where he's had that success, and he had a number of teams. I mean, the Giants were not the only team interested in John Harbaugh. There were six other teams that were interested in John Harbaugh.
Teams with coaches that were apparently interested in John Harbaugh, which was my favorite report.
And there were fan bases that were looking at if their team lost in wild card round, would they get rid of their head coach and hire John Harbaugh? So that's how appealing the former Ravens head coach was.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, let's go to Lou down in Texas. Lou, what's going on, pal?
Hey guys, how's it going today?
We're great, Lou. What do you got?
I am great too. If all the reports are true, I am ecstatic. John Harbaugh is somebody that I have looked forward to for a long time, and even if it was happenstance, having Jackson Dart talk to him to me is amazing. Just for him to hear what his ideas are, and Harbaugh saying, okay, this is what I like about you, this is what I want to do, and them having conversations. The most important thing to me is that anytime the Giants play, 9.9 times out of 10, we are not going to get outcoached. We have a superior coach to almost every single person who's out there. Now, I mean, of course.
And Lou, by the way, Lou, I apologize for interrupting, and you can finish your point. But you look back at like the 2007 and 2011 Super Bowls. The Giants win those games because Tom Coughlin, if not outcoached Bill Belichick, coached right with him. He wasn't outcoached by Bill Belichick in those games. And that makes a difference when you're playing these other teams with great players and great coaches.
Absolutely. I mean, he knows situations. He's been through 18 years. He's been through just about every single friggin' situation. Yes, he's had some issues with clock management. That happens, over 18 years. But I think the thing is, like I said, on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, whatever day we play, we're not going to be outcoached by the other head coach.
Well, yeah, and
you're right.
I think you can take it to it. And Lou, thanks a lot for the call. I think you can take it to another level as well. Is that does your coach, regardless of the talent level on your team, put you in a position to win, right? And that's where when you look at John Harbaugh, that's where the elite coaches in the NFL do, right? Where it might not look great, but are you in a position to go out there and win that game? And there are a select few in the National Football League that can do that.
Just look at Mike Tomlin, what he's done with his quarterback situation in the last 5 years.
And people want to go out there in Pittsburgh and kind of scoff at it. Well, they don't bottom out. And there's something to be said in terms of the culture, the understanding of what a Steeler was, and what are the expectations under the guidance of Mike Tomlin. And you saw the similar with Harbaugh down in Baltimore, what it was with the Baltimore Ravens. You ran through it. How many losing seasons in 18 years? I mean, 3. That's it. I mean, in 18
And 2 of them
years-
were 8-9s.
I mean, and 2 of them were 8-9s. I mean, think about that. And went through, it wasn't like he had one quarterback the entire time. He had 2 quarterbacks.
He had a rookie quarterback.
All right. So, I mean, you look at everything that you've seen here, and those are the great head coaches. And I think Lou hit upon it, is that you are not at a disadvantage. You are at an advantage at the head coaching position and from a staff perspective as well.
No question about it. All right, we'll take 2 more calls. Len and Coach Marvin. We love you guys.
Nice.
We want to squeeze you guys in to this 10-minute period here, okay? Let's go to Coach Marvin first. He's been holding the longest. Coach, what's going on, pal?
How you guys doing, John?
We're great, Coach. What do you got?
Yeah, real quick. I just told Pearson that they did hire him. It's been done. They just announced it was done. 5 years is what he got.
Coach, until the Giants organization announces it, in our book, it is not official.
Okay. But
All right,
when you hang up, you make sure you say, Coach Dockery told you it was done. So I got you. I understand.
Yes. What do you got for me, Coach? What do you have on the
What
hire?
I want to say is this makes me this is a good hiring. I still like to see who the coordinator is going to be. You had a caller call in and say wants a coordinator to stay with. You want them to stay with Dart. That's not going to happen in the Harbaugh, because I think Harbaugh, he acquires good coordinators because the defense and the offensive coordinator is their system. Because he's not an offensive or defensive coach.
No, he's a coach.
He's a leader.
Yeah.
He was a
He's a
special
CO.
team coach.
Yeah.
So those guys are going to come in, put their stamp on that side of the ball, and they're going to get hired as head coaches. And he does lose a lot of guys that way. So we have to prepare for that.
Yeah, Coach,
So
you're right.
defensive-
So many defensive coaches from the Ravens have gotten jobs in other places over the years because
Yeah.
they've been so good. You're absolutely right about that.
Right. The other thing, real quick, because one of my favorite callers is on next, is Lynn, is that the feeling I got is a feeling I had a while back, years ago. It was when we got a Manning. Now we have a Harbaugh. These
Yeah.
2 guys can really coach.
Football royalty.
And that's what we need to make the shirts of this year. We have a Harbaugh. So I'm going to leave it at that.
I love it.
Y'all
I
take
love it. That's
care.
great. You can see that, no doubt. You can see that in the stands. We got a Harbaugh. Yeah, and I think as excited as you are, I would venture to guess John Harbaugh was just as excited about the potential opportunity here moving forward as well.
No, I'm with you 100%.
And, yeah, and I think each and every one of the Giant players are excited about what Giant football is going to look like in 2026 and beyond as well. And there's some obviously key questions. It has to be officially announced by the New York Giants, and the key questions about his coaching staff and the like, and what the offseason looks like and free agency, and we get to the NFL draft, and the Giants have the 5th overall pick, John. So there's a lot to get to during the course of this offseason.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of the big hurdle, reportedly that John Harbaugh is going to be the next head coach of the New York Giants. I mean, that is as A+ a hire as you could possibly get.
I mean, you can't start the offseason any better than that,
No,
can you?
no doubt.
That is as good of a start. Now, it guarantees nothing. There's a lot of things going to happen between
like
now
you
and next
mentioned,
year,
it's hard
but
to win in the
it's hard.
National Football League. It really is. I mean, but you want to put yourself in the best possible position to
That's
win.
it, 100%. And I think the Giants, if this gets completed as people are reporting it will, I think you can't really argue with that approach. All right, Len in Columbia, Maryland. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, hey, how you doing, guys?
We're good.
Man, what a terrific day to be a Giants fan.
No doubt.
No question.
And listen,
Len, this
hello
is as
to your
happy
guests.
as I've ever heard you.
Welcome, and
You were so happy.
I hope we hear from you again as we go through the season. Yeah, look, you got to be happy, for the fans first of all, since I'm one of them. And I expect when my next invoice arrives, there'll be a picture of John Harbaugh right down there by the bottom line.
Yeah.
Encourage me to sign up, and it's not going to be hard this year. It's not going to be hard this year. Yeah, great move, great day. Happy for ownership, especially happy for John Mara.
Yeah.
This group worked really hard. Sounds like they had a plan, a strategy. They were well organized. There was some leadership there. Just a great move. Great move. They got it done. Man, they got it done. Let me.
January 15th.
I'm not over the top. I'm not over the top, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a terrific hire. For your guest.
Len, can I ask you, why aren't you over the top?
You should be over the top.
Well,
Like,
I'll
this
tell you.
has got to, I mean, you got to be
Okay,
skipping down the streets.
I'm about to tell you why I'm not completely over the top.
Why?
Right? I'm really, I'm really happy. And beside myself, I got all my Giant gear on.
Nice.
I even had somebody mention my Giant gear this morning and say, hey, I bet you're a happy guy. You go into a Starbucks now, and I'm going to get some attention with that with my sweatshirt on.
Nice.
I've been around for a while, as you know. This is my 20th coach, if you count the interims.
Okay.
The better ones had one thing in common. They had great players.
That's a good point.
We've got some holes. We've got some work to do. Jean's a great point man for that, and I think he's going to get it done. And to show you how excited I am, can I make a prediction, John?
Sure, of course. What do you have?
Okay, let me make one.
We have too many Johns now. It's going to get very confusing just for the record.
The playoff run starts in 27, and our team will win a Super Bowl this decade.
There you go.
All right. I like it, Len.
John is going to lead us there.
Love it.
I appreciate it.
Let's go, Giants. Thanks
There
for
you
taking
go.
my call.
I mean, you should be. I mean, that's a great prediction. You should be over the top. My youngest son, Gregory, huge Giant fan, wears Giant pajamas to bed every single night, right? Wakes up this morning. I'm up early, right? Wakes up this morning. He's got his Giant PJs on.
Did he have the
right?
Jackson Dart eye black on?
He
when
did
woke up
not.
in the morning?
No. You can't do that. Not with my wife, Donna, because face has got to be clean, got to brush the teeth, got to brush the hair, right? What was Gregory's first question to me? Did they get him?
Oh, really? That was the first question when he woke
Well,
up?
the first question when he woke up.
I love it. How old is he?
He's 9.
That is awesome.
He is 9. And
love
I
it.
said, reportedly, got to make sure, not official yet.
Moose is playing by the rules at home.
Reportedly, they did. When I get a nice high five, then what's for breakfast?
What was for breakfast?
I made a little bacon and eggs.
Oh, bacon and eggs on a
That's it.
weekday.
Yeah, well,
Wow, that's
the
big
bacon
time.
was made already. You got to heat up in the microwave, and then little scrambled eggs. That was it.
I haven't had that microwave bacon yet. Is it good?
It's good. It's not bad.
Is it pretty good?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's easy.
All
You
right.
don't have to get the pan out. You're
I'm
not
gonna
worried
check
about
it
the
out.
grease, the fat, everything like that. They're not putting it down the drain, and then all that kind of stuff. Put a little paper towel. You put it in the
All right,
microwave.
I'll
You're good to
check
go.
that out.
That's it.
My kids love their bacon. All right, 2 things real quick. I have YouTube comments to get to those. He mentioned the players, right?
Yeah.
The one player I'm interested in now, one Giant player that's a free agent, was coached by John Harbaugh in Baltimore. That's Jermaine Illuminor. He was
Good
there
one.
for a couple of years. Now, he wasn't the level of player that he was in Baltimore that he eventually became in Vegas or
And then with the Giants.
Oakland, wherever he was, with the Giants. But I'm curious what that relationship is and whether or not then moves the needle on the urgency the Giants have in retaining Illuminor this offseason.
That's a good
based
one.
on their history.
That's a good one. That is. You know what? I didn't realize that with Illuminor. That is a good nugget. Good piece of information. And maybe, and listen, he would be a good guy, obviously, and familiarity there, and he's been through it. And he's made it perfectly be known that he loves being here and loves being a New York Giant, and he's been really, really good at that right tackle position.
All right, here we go. We're going to run through some YouTube comments here, Moose.
Let's go.
At 11, Imani. Now we got to be patient, man. I'm expecting playoffs, but I'm not going to be mad if he doesn't get the pieces he wants / needs in year 1. Still a lot of work to do on the roster. I think it's a good point. There's no guarantee this is a 1-year turnaround. Look, and we talked about it, Moose. You look at the point differential, some of the other metrics. The Giants probably more like a 6 to 7 win team this year than a 4-win team with some of those close games going the wrong way and stuff like that. So I don't think there's as big of a jump as you might normally have from going from where the Giants are to where they want to go. But look, sometimes it does take, especially if it's going to be a very new coaching staff, and we'll see what happens. We have no idea. Hopefully a lot of the assistants that are here can stick because they're good people and we like them. But it can sometimes take a year for a coach to really figure out, all right, who's part of this team that I can have as part of my program, who doesn't work, who works. It takes a year to get it installed and to get it going. You hope it's a quick turnaround, but sometimes it can take a year.
But what you want to
figure it out,
right? And what you want to see, I think it was Len who called up. What you want to see is the coaching staff putting this team at an advantage.
Yes, correct.
And I think you saw this past year, and I don't mean to, when you saw the defensive coordinator change there, you saw that defense play extremely more. I'll put it this way: more stoutly than you did under Shane Bowen. They were better against the rush. They were more attacking. They were making use. Abdul Carter, obviously, after the benching, he had the last 3 games. You saw the impact of the Penn State rookie and why he was drafted 3rd overall. So all of those things. Coaching matters. Here's what you need to know. Coaching matters in the NFL. Look up in New England with Vrabel. I know they got eliminated last week. Liam Cohen out in Jacksonville, familiar guy with the Giant organization. Sean Payton in Denver. Andy Reid out in Kansas City, what Andy Reid did down in Philadelphia. And similar in nature, you saw Kansas City at the time when Andy Reid was cut loose by the Philadelphia Eagles. You didn't see Kansas City run. You saw them sprint to go get Andy Reid, right? And reportedly, one of the guys that John Harbaugh reached out to after he was let go by the Baltimore Ravens was Andy Reid.
And that goes to one of our YouTube comments. Noah Spurs 125, Tommy Lugar over at WFAN, where you can hear Marc Malusis and myself from time to time, had the correct comparison. This is Andy Reid going to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, they had, obviously, if you go back to the 90s, Marty Schottenheimer was there, had a lot of success. Dick Vermeil had some success there.
Yep.
But then they went through a little bit of a window where, and I had to go back and double check who the coaches were. Herm Edwards, Todd Haley, Romeo Crennel did not go as well. And then Andy Reid shows up. Alex Smith was his first quarterback.
Yep.
Then Patrick Mahomes. And all of a sudden, that turns into a winner. And Andy Reid, very similar resume to John Harbaugh before he got to the Chiefs. Didn't have the Super Bowl title, but in terms of overall success, regular season record,
yeah, I mean, the issue
very similar.
Right, the issue with Andy Reid was similar to the nature of where he couldn't win the big game. I mean, that was it. I mean, there were multiple trips, NFC, everything that you saw with Andy Reid. I know they went to a Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb and lost to the New England Patriots down in Jacksonville, but still could not go out there and win the big game.
All right, T-Tom 13, want to see who the top coordinators are going to be? Absolutely, we'll see. We talked about that. Greg Turdhauler, interesting YouTube name there. I like that one. Harbaugh respects this franchise and will understand where we are trying to get back to.
Very creative.
Agreed. Yes, that absolutely. Fantastic. Richard Virginia, perfect storm. Kudos to JS, JM, CM. That's Joe Shane, John Mara, Chris Mara, I'm guessing, etc., for getting it correct. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a new era. Yes, Rich, agreed, 100%. I think we're with you on that. NY Greedy _ D25. We got our guy finally. I'm so excited in many ways for this. We should be. Ronald Helko, 768. Since our best linebacker was hurt all year, we should be able to keep him for a small amount of money. I'm assuming he's talking about Micah McFadden there. Is that what he's talking about?
Is, yes.
Yeah, I think that makes
these
sense.
These comments are from the other day.
Oh, okay. So I will not go through the rest of those. And by the way, I actually just got a call from Teterboro Air Traffic Control.
Yeah.
I believe Datino just reached the outer atmosphere.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
I believe Paul's getting his steps in today, doing his walk 5-6 miles.
I believe he launched last night, and and I believe he is somewhere near the ozone layer right now, and he's trying to break through into the upper atmosphere.
Nice guy. I mean, unbelievable. Loves Giants backwards and forwards. I mean, yeah, he's great.
I texted with him briefly this morning about something, a different matter.
Power walking through Jersey, there's no doubt.
Paul's doing well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes, he's
like if you're a Giant, there's no today is not a day to be doing bad. Like today's a day.
That's correct.
With the reports coming out earlier this morning, like today's a day. You put the hat on, you put the jacket on, you put the hoodie on, whatever it might be.
And we will make sure we get Moose some of those, by the way. You didn't get to them yet. We will.
You are excited. You are excited.
I couldn't sleep last night.
You're proud to be a Giant fan regardless, but you are excited about what this team is going to be moving forward. That is, like I mentioned the reference before, like it enlivens the fan base. It lights a fire under their rear end. All those things. That's the kind of moment that that reportedly the Giants had last night with John Harbaugh. And when it becomes official, it becomes official.
I will leave it at this, and I'll put it this way. When Tom Coughlin was here, even though Ernie Accorsi was a general manager and later Jerry Reese was general manager, Moose, who was the leader of the Giants organization?
It was Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin, right?
Like when you walked in the building,
I thought it was a trick question.
No, it was not. It was not. It was supposed to be an easy question, and
I'm sorry. Listen, I was bad at tests at Don Bosco. I'll tell you that.
I thought you were a Don Bosco guy.
Yes, Ramsey, New Jersey, Route 17.
So when you walked in this building, it was Tom Coughlin's building.
No doubt.
And that's not taking anything away from the fantastic job Ernie Accorsi did, the fantastic job that Jerry Reese did, and obviously ownership and all that stuff. It was Tom Coughlin's building.
Yeah.
When you walk in this building now, once this deal gets finalized and he gets everybody in place and it's going to be it, this is going to be John Harbaugh's building.
No question.
And he's going to be the leader of the organization. That's what you want your head coach to be. He's the one that makes decisions around the place. He runs the building. It's his show. And when you have someone in place that has the history of success that he does, there's no reason to have the utmost confidence that he can duplicate that success in a building where the people that are here are going to give him the latitude to run it the way he wants and give him whatever resources he needs and desires to do what he needs to do. There's no reason to think that that success can't, and again, it might not be right away, we'll see, and won't be repeated here.
Yeah, and I think it's a wonderful example, and Tom still loves this organization to this very day.
And he was involved in this too, if reports are correct.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And obviously he was former wide receiver coach, everything, but took great pride in being the Giant head coach. And if you believe all the reports out there, is that John Harbaugh targeted the Giants in terms of being the most appealing job on the marketplace, even before he was let go by the Baltimore Ravens. Because just as front offices do their due diligence, coaches do their due diligence as well, just in case something does transpire. And I think there is a pull to this team, a pull to this franchise, obviously being the established franchise in the National Football League that it has been, that's been to 5 Super Bowls, winners of 4 of them. And if John Harbaugh looks at this scenario and looks at it as being a winning situation, I think if you're a Giant fan right now, you say to yourself, all right, let's go. I mean, because it's been a lot of other things instead of winning. And that's where it might not happen right away, but you believe that you reportedly brought in the right guy to kind of lead this organization move forward. I have to make sure I say it's not official. Reportedly brought in John Harbaugh to be the head coach, that they have got the right guy to lead this organization moving forward.
And hopefully tomorrow when we do the show, we won't have to use that word around 1 billion times like we did today. Put on the hope. Moose, this was fun, brother.
John, I had a blast. Thanks for having me.
Welcome aboard to the weekday edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live.
No doubt.
It is great to have you. Folks, just a reminder, you can check out the archive of this on the Giants YouTube channel, Giants.com, the Giants app. Special Olympics New Jersey's annual Snow Bowl is heading to Rutgers SHI Stadium in 2026. The annual flag football tournament will be on the field from March 6th through the 8th, 2026. The 6-on-6 tournament will feature competitive, recreational, and co-ed divisions, and all proceeds benefit thousands of Special Olympics New Jersey athletes across the Garden State. Register your team today at njsnowbowl.org. That's njsnowbowl.org. And again, you can check out draft season. It's on that Giants Huddle podcast feed on all your favorite podcast platforms and the Giants YouTube channel. For the Moose, Marc Malusis, I am John Schmeelk. We will see you tomorrow at 12:30. It's Dottino and myself for another edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live.
He'll land from the atmosphere.
Well, I think we have to figure that out, Pearson. We need to call Teterboro and make sure that he can get down safely at some point later on today. Maybe we have one of those accounts, track them like they're tracking the flights yesterday.
Well, yeah, you got to find that guy that was tracking the plane. We got to Teterboro.
He can track
put a tracker, put on one of those Apple devices on Dottino, see where he is.
Except I think instead of the plane on the tracker, it'll be a big pepperoni pizza or a big dish of pasta, right? Is that what it would be?
He's going to have a superhero landing when he gets to
Yes, he will have the superhero landing. That's
Iron
correct.
Man.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow at Big Blue Kickoff Live. Pearson, great job as always. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.